People always ask me how I stay so youthful. I tell them I eat well, get plenty of rest, and every third Sunday I drink the blood of a virgin. And these days, they're getting harder and harder to find.
Hey everybody, this is Dane.
And this is JR.
And we are
the Cult Lords.
And we are doing a special show for you today. Season wrap up or I should say year-end wrap up of 2021. We recently completed our top 8 TV shows, which you should have seen by now. But this is our top 8 movies that we saw in 2021. And let me make a little bit of an announcement of what we are letting qualify. Because it's still a COVID year and we didn't go out to the theaters and see every good movie that was released in 2021. What we are saying is movies that we saw for the first time in 2021. So if it was a 2-year-old movie, but you caught it for the first time on streaming, or you caught it on Blu-ray or whatever, but it was the first time you'd ever seen this movie in 2021, we can count that. So I don't care, Dane, if you want to put Citizen Kane down. As long as it was the first time you saw it in this year.
In 2021.
In 2021. Okay.
All right. Well, and to start that off, celebration of the end of the year, and I think a successful launch.
A successful launch.
We're having some Veuve Clicquot, a little champagne from the Champagne French region. This is well known, especially for this label. You see it in some Hitchcock movies too, by the way. I think To Catch a Thief as one of them. But this is from JR's private champagne vault.
I did bring this over, yep. So, sitting in my refrigerator for like several years.
So let's clink glasses, kick it off, and remind everybody that we need subscribers.
Yes. So we are ringing out the old, ringing in the new, and what we want is more subscribers. We need your help. And how can they help us, Dane?
So on that screen you have there's a little button over here on your side. It's a red button that says subscribe. Hit it at any time. You don't need a new account. It will go gray, and you are now subscribed to us. And we want to give a little bit more details on that because there seems to be some confusion about what this means.
Well, in talking to friends, I thought everybody would be pretty tech savvy. Apparently not. Some people think that subscribe means you got to pay for this, right?
No fee, no obligation.
No fee. We've had other people think that subscribe now means they're going to get flooded with emails from us. That's not the case either. So
no spam.
No spam.
Guaranteed.
Subscribe.
No Nigerian prince wants your bank account number.
We're not going to do that to you. Subscribe simply means that you want to be alerted whenever there's new content out. So whenever you log into YouTube, or not even log into YouTube, you just go to youtube.com, you will see a little flag that shows alerts to the channels that you subscribe to, what their new content is. And it kind of puts them in order for you anyways when you come back on.
Shows your history that you've watched.
Yes.
It shows what's new. So basically all subscribe does is it obviously helps us out by subscribing to our channel, supporting what we're doing here, which we hope everyone loves. But then it also helps you guys out because it's going to organize your histories. It's going to tell you what's new. And basically, if you want to give more info, you have the option of setting up a user account, but it's absolutely not necessary.
And take a look at how many subscribers we have now after, 6 or 7 weeks? About 117. And people know about monetizing videos on YouTube. We are not able to monetize any video until we hit 1,000 subscribers. So look how far away we are. If you know a friend or a family member that likes movies, likes comic books, likes pop culture, likes top 8 lists, things like that, please say, go subscribe to my friends. Will you do that for me? Share this video out on your Facebook or your Instagram platform and tell them, go sign up and subscribe. So now that we've spent a few minutes on that,
right.
Hopefully,
Time to start.
Hopefully we don't have to do that again. And like the video.
Yeah,
all right?
like the video. And again, we love the comments. And this is the whole point of this we're setting up a community to discuss all of these subject matters.
We are starting to get more comments, which is kind of cool. And we like to interact with those when we are not sick with COVID, like I had a couple of weeks ago.
We'll even welcome a couple of trolls if they want to join in the conversation.
You want to troll us? Troll us down there. We'll just see who you are and we'll go trolling back. But that'll be fun.
Yep.
So, all right, Dane.
So what are we talking about?
We are talking about our top 8 movies that we saw in 2021. And once again, they don't have to have been released in 2021.
Yep.
But we had to have seen them for the first time in 2021.
In 2021. All right.
So, Dane, I'm
kicking it off, right?
What is your number 8?
Well, I've got the honorable mention of Free Guy because we reviewed it, but that's all. But my number 8 is the Justice League Snyder Cut.
Oh!
The re-release. Caught that at the beginning of the year. I saw and just to actually make sure I understood the differences, I watched the first one and then I went and watched the second one.
Very different, right?
Yeah, there was a different feel.
First of all, 4 hours on the new cut, right?
I mean, he wanted to explore every nuance of the characters and fill the storyline out, and then even change really the ending.
Oh yeah, completely changed.
I mean, which is amazing that somebody could take a movie that was released, a year, 2 years ago, and completely change the entire movie.
Well,
and add all the parts because I heard he got all the actors to come back.
He got them all to come back and do reshoots on that.
All right, I think for scale.
Yeah.
He didn't have. They all agreed that we love what you want to do. We'll all come back, and I mean these are all high-end actors here, actresses, and let him redo the entire movie so that there's still you can see elements of the original, but there's a lot in the new one that basically they're 2 standalone movies.
Right. Well, so. As people know, the director for that was not, the original one was not Zack Snyder.
Right.
Well, he started filming it, and then what happened was he lost his daughter and was a little distraught and said, I can't finish this movie.
Right.
So I think they brought in Joss Whedon, who looked at what Zack Snyder had filmed and said, I'm going to completely change this. And so he completely changed the movie and went in a different direction. And of course, it was kind of a bomb at the box office, and people didn't like it. But everybody was talking about, if we'd only seen Zack Snyder's vision for this, it was going to be totally different. So a lot of his material was sitting on the floor basically, and he came in, picked that up, filmed new material, released his own cut, changed it completely, and was really much better.
Yeah,
the only thing I didn't like it is it was in a 4:3 ratio instead of a letterbox ratio.
Yeah, what is that, 9:6 or something like that?
But the 4:3 was because it was supposedly an IMAX version. But you know what? I have to say that's not my top 8.
Oh, okay.
But that I didn't really think about that, Dane, and it was really good.
All right, what do you got for number 8?
I've got Tenet.
Tenet. Well, David Tennant from Doctor Who?
No, not David Tennant. It's Tenet from Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
The director of Inception, The Dark Knight.
All great movies.
Dunkirk, right? And now he has Tenet. And Tenet, the word Tenet is what they call a palindrome, where it's pronounced and spelled the same way forward as it is backwards. And what that represents in this movie is how time could be manipulated to go forward and go backwards. And so, very complex movie. Very complex movie.
I was going to say, it sounds like it already.
When I actually watched this one with my parents, and we were over at their house, and I brought it over, and when it was done, we spent at least 30 to 60 minutes discussing what we just watched, trying to understand and go back to, what we saw and how like the end, relates to things that happened earlier. And then we ended up watching a YouTube video to explain the end of Tenet. And that helped a lot too.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's that complex, but then I went and watched it a second time. And knowing what you knew before watching it really helped out.
Okay, and so do you think it detracted the fact that you had to go do homework and research just to figure out what was going on?
First of all, movies that make you think and pose challenges to, what you're thinking, that's a great movie that does that to you. And that makes you have to go back, maybe do a little research, go back and watch it a second time, and then be like, aha, now I'm catching this.
Right.
And that's what Tenet was all about. And if you haven't seen Tenet, I'm telling you, go and watch it. It's a great movie, a great Christopher Nolan movie. It is complex, but just pay attention. And then maybe look up a YouTube video afterwards. So,
what would the world be without YouTube videos?
I know.
And people putting out videos for free,
I
basically.
know. And all you got to do is subscribe.
That's it.
All right. So, what is your number 7?
My
Dave?
number 7 is Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Spider-Man.
You haven't seen it yet, have you?
I was going to go see it, and then COVID hit me.
Yeah.
And then I learned about who Betty White really is. And but no.
It's a previous episode.
Previous episode. So, without spoilers, Dane, please tell me about Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Well, so this one again, I was more reluctant with the whole Spider-Man thing because I just kind of felt like they're repeating things over and over again, and they weren't really coming up with fresh material.
Yeah.
I did not actually see the previous two, and
You've never seen a Tom Holland Spider-Man, have you?
No, except in the
Avengers. Yeah,
that was it. And so we went with family members and everything over the holiday and stuff. And so great movie. Really came up with kind of like an interesting storyline to continue. Again, he's in high school. Him and his buddies are trying to go back to college. Zendaya's in it. What isn't she in?
Yeah.
And they brought back a lot of villains. Well, it's people that you've seen in trailers and stuff like that. So I'm not really revealing anything major here. But I thought they did a really interesting story, even though I was a little bit confused and had to ask, what was the clarification here?
Because of the multiverse?
I don't know. Is there a multiverse?
I do know that there's an element to the multiverse in this.
All right, so
I'm not 100% oblivious to what's going on. But I haven't seen it yet, and I want to see it.
I don't want to go too far into it then. So,
all right.
I mean, it's definitely a good movie. Kept your interest. There's a couple of surprises that completely I'm not going into that are not in any trailers.
Okay, what's interesting to me is that you have that at number 7 without seeing any of the first 2 Spider-Mans. So you walked in cold, basically, and still enjoyed it.
Right. Because, you can, and that's we say this all the time, how these people come up with these great movies,
right?
Especially superhero ones, because there's enough backstory
that they borrow.
but you would generally know anyways, right? I mean, you know classic Spider-Man villains, a lot of other stuff that's going on, generally his whole upbringing and all that. So they glossed through it, thankfully. They didn't go into this whole, So yeah, great movie, highly recommend. And but I'm gonna go back and see the 2 that I missed.
Okay.
What's yours? Number 7.
Number 7. I'm gonna go.
Number 7.
So this movie came out in 2019, but I got it on Blu-ray and I watched it earlier this year, and it is Tolkien. So
isn't that a Legion M production?
It's a Legion M
production. Who else is?
We're about to invest in Legion M, and we'll talk about that in a
future episode. But they also did Mandy. We'll be doing that in a future episode.
That's right. Better be good.
What did you find special about this particular movie?
Well, I mean, we watch and read, and believe it or not, I've read Tolkien. Before.
You read? Well, I was around 12.
Well, I told you it was before 12. In my lifetime, I was a book reader up until 12, and then I just stopped reading books. But I've read all the Tolkien books. So, and I also read Lord of the Rings. Did you ever read that one?
No, I did not read that. Lord of the Rings.
Oh, it's a parody of the Lord of the Rings. So, anyways, Tolkien. This movie is about his life and how he was inspired to write the Middle Earth series of books.
Okay.
And a lot of it was because he was on the battlefield of World War I. And a lot of the things he saw out there reminded him of like maybe ancient kind of dragons, as he saw planes coming through, like it was the very beginning of flamethrowers. So he would see like the flamethrowers come in, and when he would look at that, he would see a dragon. You know what I mean? And it's a love story too.
Did he say, by the way, was he stationed in the northern part of Spain? Did he do a lot? Did they do Spain?
I don't think he was in Spain. I think he was like in France or something.
Well, maybe.
Maybe later on. But
it's in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but no, very interesting movie. Great acting. Lily Collins, I know you like her.
I didn't know she was in that.
She plays Tolkien's love interest.
The About a Boy guy who was a little kid, his first movie About a Boy, and then he later was in a zombie.
Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, Nicholas Hoult. And he played a zombie in some movie too.
Warm Bodies, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Tolkien was a really, really good movie.
And he was in Mad Max Thunder Road.
Oh, yeah, he was.
He's the
I remember
main guy, yeah.
So my number 7 was Tolkien, really good movie. Watch it, Dane.
All right.
What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Parasite.
Parasite.
So this is a Korean movie that ended up winning the Oscars.
It did.
But it came out in 2020. But because it won the Oscars, we decided to see it. And so it is subtitled. But it is a kind of an, it's an odd, I don't want to, if you're going to see it, I don't want to get too much into it.
I'm going to see it, so don't
It's a
go
little
too
bit,
far.
let's just say there's some killing, there's some just odd Korean, like family, like there's a lot of the cultural type stuff that gets kind of mixed in here with like how servants work for like rich families, because this is somewhat common in the Asian world where, you have a chauffeur, you just expected to have a chauffeur, or you're expected to have a housemaid or something like that.
Right.
Where over here, that's kind of considered more of the wealthy side. Over there, it's more of a commonality, or just middle class. So really good movie, suspense, intrigue, a lot of like, what? Kind of stuff, but I highly recommend it. For those of you who maybe not go into the kind of foreign world.
So I actually own that on Blu-ray. When it went on sale, I picked it up, and because I knew it had won Best Picture of the Year, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to eventually watch this. So so I did pick that up on Blu-ray. I need to see it sometime.
And we talked about your Korean was your number one movie. And your
my number one.
You got to go see it. Don't tell what it is.
Yeah, my number one TV show, if you haven't seen the last episode, our best TV shows, was a Korean.
Right.
I thought you were going to say my first kiss was with a Korean girl, which is true.
I didn't hear this.
Her name was Sophia Chung, and she was Korean. And that was my very first kiss at age 11. So, all right.
You've got a tie-in with the Koreans.
I know.
All right, what's yours?
My number 6 is a movie called The Dig on Netflix, and it came out this year. The Dig. So it's an interesting movie. So Carey Mulligan, you know who she is?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
She's married to the Mumford & Sons guy, the lead singer.
Okay. Wasn't she? I don't know. Was she the one who was married to Heath Ledger too?
No, that was the woman from Dawson's Creek.
Oh.
The blonde woman from that.
I don't know why I thought it was Carey Mulligan. Well, anyways, Carey Mulligan plays a widow in England.
Okay.
And this is based on a true story, by the way. And they own a lot of land, and there were these mounds on her land that she always thought that they were some sort of ancient burials or something like that.
Okay, yeah, they have a lot of that up there.
So she actually employs a guy played by Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes, yeah. And he is like an excavator. He comes to excavate one of these mounds, and what they find out is it was a huge Viking ship from like the 1300s or something like that, when the Vikings were going around and making their way around Europe. And so I don't want to get too far into it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
But they start the dig, and they keep on finding things, and meanwhile the pretentious British Ministry of archaeology,
right,
they're trying to butt their way in on this, and she's fighting back, saying, "No, this is independent." But it's a really very interesting.
Okay, so it's a historical drama with some romance, I assume. Nothing supernatural.
Nothing supernatural, no romance. I don't think.
No? Oh,
No.
Seems like the perfect setup.
No, there was no romance.
The wealthy widow and the architect who was
No, it was
desperate for whatever.
it was all about the dig.
All right.
So really good movie. I would recommend checking it out. So, what's your number 5?
Number 5, Scanners. It's a David Cronenberg movie.
From the 80s?
Yeah, it's actually from the 70s. It's like
70s.
78, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to see this movie. It was one of those that, like, as kids, some old, kid in the block or something like that, his brother, let him watch it or whatever. And that whole scene with the guy's head blowing up, that was one of those most intriguing, like the most grossest thing ever. But I always wanted to see it because it looked like a really interesting, like, subtext about these women that had been pregnant women that were giving some kind of experimental drugs that were, to help them for morning sickness, and it ended up imbuing their kids with telepathic powers.
So I just
And they're
looked.
called Scanners.
I just looked to see if I have that in my collection, and I don't. So.
Oh yeah, it's David Cronenberg, one of his early ones. So I don't even know if he's alive still, but he's done a lot of these creepy, like, horror movies early on, but stuff that makes you think. And then he also did Eastern Promises, I think, with Viggo Mortensen.
I love that.
I think that was that one. He did that too. So he's got a really interesting take on what would happen. And of course, there's good scanners, bad scanners, and
Right.
And if you want to get into that gritty late 70s movie genre feel, it's a perfect movie for that.
Okay.
So,
well,
but heavy on the sci-fi.
I do want to see that movie, and I thought I owned it on Blu-ray, but I don't. So.
All right. So what's your number 5?
My number 5. Now, a lot of people pan this movie. I think it's got a horrible Rotten Tomatoes score, but on
Old? No.
No, in Netflix, it's not an M. Night Shyamalan movie. I think it was in June this came out. Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead.
Oh.
Do you remember that? What that's about?
I actually have not seen that movie.
Oh, I ended up loving it, but I watched other reviews of it. I like the Red Letter Media guys.
Uh-huh.
They panned it so hard.
Ah.
They panned it so hard. They called it, just a collection of copycat scenes from other movies like Aliens and stuff.
Oh.
And there is a couple of scenes that are stolen right from Aliens, but Army of the Dead is about a zombie apocalypse has happened, right? And what they did was the United States contained it and somehow in Las Vegas, and they've walled off the city of Las Vegas.
Okay.
But the entire city of Las Vegas is just inhabited by zombies.
Okay.
While the rest of the world kind of goes on. Well, a billionaire, a Japanese billionaire says, hey, there is something like $150 million in gold in a vault underneath one of the
Okay.
hotels.
The hotels.
And so he hires a group of ragtag people to go in to Vegas, battle the zombies, get down, and get the gold out.
Okay.
Dave Bautista's in it.
Yeah. There's a number of well-known names in there.
Man, still got that little cough. But I love this movie. I was laughing the whole way through it.
Well, that was definitely going to go to the top of my docket list.
And
I've
you know
been
what?
meaning to watch it, but I just haven't gotten to it.
They actually take zombies in a different
Really?
direction. Do you want me to tell you the direction or no? Up to you.
No.
Okay.
We'll save that. Table that for future.
Table that. They take zombies into a different direction that you've never seen before.
Okay. Yeah,
so that's why I really enjoyed
Because
it.
the zombie genre is getting a little on the tiring side. I mean, we were talking about in our previous thing of Black Summer.
Black Summer is really good.
And then what was the other one? The Z Nation.
No, Z Nation.
I didn't like Z Nation.
Very cheesy.
I mean, I just thought, if you got zombies, don't make them funny.
Yeah.
It just ruins the whole aesthetic.
Right.
All right, so what are we on here?
Number 4.
Number 4 for me is The Matrix Resurrection.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That made it.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? I need a little more.
Oh, you need a little bit more.
So tell me why you have The Matrix Resurrections up there.
Well, so I don't know how in depth we want to go into this because we're going to be doing a movie review of this ourselves. But, I thought, A, they did a great job with setting the story up and coming in with a different angle on it. But the one thing reason I put it as number 4 and not like number 1 is I just thought it was such a slow build-up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was like the movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes. You could have cut 20 minutes out of it very easily.
We went and saw this together in the theater, in IMAX.
In Cut Lords After Dark.
Yes. So we actually have a video of our instant reaction where we did our Cult Lords ratings. And I guess I'll just go ahead and say what your rating was. You gave it a 7.8, right?
I think I was higher. You were 7.8.
I was 7.8.
I was
7.9. You were 7.9.
Right.
So that was fresh out of there. Since we have seen that and you've had time to digest this and think about it, does your rating stay the same? Does it go up or does it go down?
I actually am going to leave it right where it was. At first,
mine's going to go down.
Yours is going to go down?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, well, I'm starting at a 10 and then going, I'm not starting at whatever. So it could go down a little bit, but we don't want to go into these level of detail, do we?
No. We're not spoiling anything right now. We're just.
But let's just say it could have been done better. I think they needed like somebody else to come in and give it a one more what's over and just say, are you sure you want to do that? Or should we be making this a little bit more interesting? The other thing too is, have you gone back and watched the first one since?
No.
There's a whole different filming style to that. Do you remember how gritty and like grayish the world was and everything? This world's like super shiny, brand new, and everyone's perfectly done. I mean, that was the beauty of that first one, is they really made you feel like you were in another world or there was something else going on. And so this one just kind of lost a lot of that.
Right.
So I agree.
So that was your number 4.
That was my number 4.
Okay. My number 4 is going to be Molly's Game.
Molly's Game?
Have you seen Molly's Game?
No. I've never even heard of it.
So this came out in 2017. But I watched this last March-ish or so. Jessica Chastain. You know who she is? The redhead?
Yeah.
She actually plays, this is a real life story of a professional skier that ended up getting hurt at the Olympics and her career was over.
Okay.
She didn't know what to do with her life. So she moves out to LA. I think she thinks she's going to work in like
the sports industry,
Hollywood
or
somehow.
Okay.
And what happens is she gets hooked up with a guy that runs these underground kind of illegal poker games for celebrities. And so she starts working with him, just taking care of the bookwork. But then she starts making all these relationships with celebrities, CEOs, billionaires. And then she decides, you know what? I'm going to run my own game. So she runs her own game in LA.
She's in a wheelchair still and all that?
Oh, no. She's perfectly healthy. I mean, she just can't ski again.
Oh, I thought, okay.
But then she moves in New York, takes it on the road, because they said, oh, you can never run one in New York because there's all these underground mafia-based poker games. But she decides to take it anyways.
Goes out there?
And goes out and competes against them. And it's really a good movie. And if you like poker, which I love poker, it's even more intriguing.
Because I was trying to figure out what the angle was going to be there when you were like, skier gets hurt, Jessica Chastain goes to LA to learn how to be something else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is he going with this?
It was a great movie.
It's poker.
Really, really entertaining movie.
Okay.
I mean, entertaining all the way through. And then, it's based on a true story and a real woman.
I assumed.
And then I went and Googled and read all about her life.
Is she still playing tournaments and stuff? Or she got in trouble finally.
Well, she got in
cops?
trouble, but but it's a good movie. I recommend Molly's Game.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
All right.
Well, mine's going to be totally a different movie.
Number 3.
Number 3, Hanzo the Razor, the Sword of Justice.
Hanzo the Razor.
Hanzo Razor. This is one of those gritty samurai movies with lots of blood and guts.
What year is this from?
It's like 1973.
Oh, okay.
And so this particular actor, Shimbaro Tatsu, I guess some movies, I can't pronounce it, was like Daiden movies or whatever in Japan, I guess people just weren't seeing him, so he decided to start his own production company and star in the movie. But it's really bizarre in this juxtaposition of cheesy like 70 porn music mixed with this like feudal Japan, and he basically plays.
And what's it called?
Hanzo the Razor.
Shintaro Katsu, huh?
Yeah, Shintaro Katsu.
Keep telling me about it.
And he's basically a low-level like policeman in the local feudal lord's prefect, but he's like uncorruptible. And so, whereas everyone else is taking bribes and basically looking the other way for stuff, but he has extremely, for that time period, what's the word I'm looking for? The way he interrogates people
Right.
are definitely not what you would expect for that particular time. But he always gets his man. That's all I can say about that. But it's such an entertaining, like if you like those classic samurai movies.
Yeah.
And for a long time we had the Seven Samurai on over here.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say this is like lowbrow samurai in the sense that it's gritty, no holds barred, like like the Wild Bunch when blood's all over the place.
Yeah.
It's like that all the time. But mixed in with this beautiful landscape and these people in geishas and very elegant silk costumes. So it's a great juxtaposition and very interesting viewing, especially since like I said, 1973. So
while you were discussing that, I went and looked because if you remember the other actor Sonny Chiba, who great Japanese actor who was in a lot of samurai movies in the 70s.
Yeah.
He died this year, but he played Hattori Hanzo in Kill Bill. And he was the man who made the sword that they called Hanzo Steel. So I was like looking to see, I wonder if there's any relationship to Hanzo, your movie.
I bet there is, because it is based on a manga comic that was written earlier. And I bet that was actually based on the historical Hanzo in the first place, and which is what that guy's referencing,
Okay.
So there probably is something in there that it's connecting to, because that's kind of an odd name, Hanzo.
Well, we don't know. We're not Japanese.
It's really good movie, and there's three of them. Hanzo the Razor, you brought the other two up, but there's the Sword of the Justice is the first of the series.
Okay.
So
interesting. Well, that sounds like a movie I'd actually like to see.
Yeah.
So,
what's your number 3?
All right, so number 3 was the one that I brought back from the 80s. And when this movie came out, it made a lot of news. So, just to let you know, Dane, and you know this, I grew up in like a very Christian household. My dad's a minister, professor of Old Testament. I'm a Christian, don't really go to church that much, but I need to. But this movie was being blasted by all the evangelical churches out there when it came out.
Okay.
And it's called The Last Temptation of Christ. Martin Scorsese movie.
Right. I have not actually seen that.
So
yes, I've heard all the controversy.
So, excuse me, Willem Dafoe plays Jesus. And all the controversy, all the evangelicals at that time were saying, this is a blasphemous show, blah, 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 portrays Jesus in ways that's not written in the Bible. And so, I never saw it. I thought, oh, it's really bad, right? But, I always wanted to see it, right? And I was wanting to say, what's so bad about this, right? So it's a Criterion Collection Blu-ray. And if you're a collector of Blu-rays, that means it's a very expensive Blu-ray, right? And they go back and
white glove treatment.
They give it the white glove
we do
treatment
with our Blu-rays
to restore it from its original
from
print,
masters,
into a very highly good digital format. So I had bought this on a Criterion sale from Barnes & Noble, and then I asked my dad, "Hey, have you ever seen this movie?" And he's like, "No." I was like, "Well, I want to watch it, right?" So I was prepared for this to be really, really bad. I would actually say about 90% of this movie is truly based on biblical stories and tellings of Jesus' life. Now, the other 10%, they go off in some fictional directions, right?
More speculative type
Speculative, right? Of and some people thought that they were trying to portray him as a homosexual. They don't portray him as that in this. I didn't see that. And people were saying it's blasphemous. But what it is, it's about, in the Bible, there's stories about Satan trying to tempt Jesus, right?
Right.
There's a moment they're on a cliff in the desert, and he says, if you bow down before me, I'll give you all this land before you. And Jesus resists the temptation.
Right.
In this movie, the temptations are a little bit different, but Satan comes to him in 3 different forms to try to tempt him. And the last temptation that happens to Jesus, and I won't go into it, is while he's up on the cross dying. And what happens is then they go into this whole, what if Jesus...
No, it's like a what if.
It's a what if. What if Jesus actually took one of the temptations, right? But then what happens, I won't say, but in the end, Jesus rejects the temptation. And at the end, it was very, even for a Christian like me, it was very, very inspiring. And I think Martin Scorsese did an awesome job at this movie. And yes, there's some religious fiction in there. There's some speculative stuff in there.
Right.
But this was a fantastic movie.
Right.
It was my number 3 movie that I saw this year.
Right.
And I highly recommend it.
And the takeaway here is, go watch these movies.
Yeah.
Just ignore all this controversy. Go make your own opinion about stuff.
I guarantee the people that were protesting this back in 1988 when it came out didn't even see the movie. They took a couple of maybe some evangelical ministers who went and saw it, took their word for it, and, or maybe they didn't even see it. But if you actually see this movie, yes, you do realize that there's some what they call, some Christian fiction to it, some religious fiction to it, but it makes you question. And every prophet in the Bible has at one time questioned God. So for us to question God is not I think it's something that God expects. So I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, the other one was like Doubt is another one that's more the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
A lot of them never watched it. I came up Roman Catholic.
You're Roman Catholic, right?
And so there was a lot of them that never watched that movie because it deals with priests and nuns and stuff like that. And then there was another one about the Boston, the priest that was, the child, the pedophile stuff. And I forgot what that was. It was about Mark Ruffalo's in it. I can't remember what it was called. Another great movie, but, they don't want to go watch it because it deals with some controversial subjects. But, you got to see these things in order to make the right judgment call or,
see it for yourself and make the judgment for yourself.
We've all had brains. You got to use them once in a while.
Yeah, it was an awesome movie. One that I can't wait to see again. I'll watch it in the next couple of years.
Well, I have not seen that movie.
So, what was your number 2, Dane?
Not so serious, I guess, but my number 2 was Dune.
Dune!
So, which we reviewed prior, what was that, 3 prior episodes?
So, let me just say this.
Saw them together.
Let me just say this. My number 2 is Dune also, so
Whoa!
we get a little bit more time to talk about Dune, right?
Dune, number 2.
Yes, that was great sci-fi. And the more I think about it, the better I liked it.
Well, I mean, have you seen the 1984 one?
Yes.
Because the thing I thought that they really lacked in this one, I don't know how much detail we want to go into, is they cut out all no showing of spice. In that first one, they really showed it a lot. The whole space travel, they kind of glossed over that. They glossed over a lot of the weirdness. Did you notice, the Baron? Remember that heart plug thing in the first one, which is actually not in the book. David Lynch did that. But did you notice that spider creature? Yeah. Did you see it had hands?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was a modified human to make it look like a spider.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and so that they hinted at it, but it was such a subtle hint that you wouldn't have noticed it. And I saw that movie twice, almost back to back, because I was like, I want to rewatch this, because we had that whole thing about how did the movie start? Yeah. I mean, but of course they did split the movie in 2, so this is part 1 and part 2.
Right.
So we'll
have to see what part 2 brings. But I loved Dune. And a lot of people say, it's too long. It was like 3 hours, right?
I didn't sense the longness as an issue as much.
It was all about world building and if you want to get a very in-depth review, we do a very in-depth review. I think it's episode 4 of our season 1, and we go in-depth on Dune and talk about what we liked about it. So
we love comments on those kind of previous movies, just because we'll always answer everything that gets put out there.
Yeah.
But
so that was
I think mine's more. I was missing things. Yours
Yeah.
more is like you never,
read the books.
Right, read the books. And so you just thought they did a great job overall of introducing this global epic world type thing. And
Right. Oh yeah, like when they're
and your brother was a star in that movie. If anyone
brothers.
noticed,
I know. I mean, it's a family. It's a family movie.
family movie.
So literally a family movie, right? So, but no, that was my number 2 as well. I thought it was really well done. I talked about how it's directed by Denis Villeneuve. And I don't think he's ever made a bad movie yet. And this is no different. So yeah, it was a great movie. The only thing I said that I missed from, that 1984 to this one was when they rode this, the sandworms,
Which are we doing spoilers here?
Well, no, let's not. But they didn't do it in this one. That's all I'll say. They'll probably do it in episode 2.
Oh, well, you remember how it ended?
Well,
What do you mean?
No, I'm saying.
You mean your brother didn't write the sandworm?
Yes. What's his name in the movie?
Timothy Chalamet?
No, not Timothy Chalamet. What's that character?
Paul Atreides?
Paul Atreides. Paul Atreides didn't ride the
You
sandworms.
see them in the horizon.
You see him in the horizon, and there's somebody on him.
So
Yes.
that was the way that director decided to split the movie up. Was part 1 is him being this character. Part 2 is him now becoming a Freeman. So
right.
At least I'm speculating.
So that was your number 2. That was my number 2.
2.
So we're up to number 1.
Number 1.
Number 1. All right.
Can I have everyone's attention?
Hold on.
I'd like to say a number
1. All right. What was the number 1 movie you saw in all of 2021?
James Bond, No Time to Die.
James Bond. No.
Which you have not seen it.
Nope. I finally saw it.
Oh, you did see it finally?
Over my COVID quarantine, it came in on Blu-ray, and I did watch it.
Yeah. So I mean, again, my favorite Bond is what's his name? I'm drawing a blank.
Sean Connery?
No. The current one.
Timothy Dalton. Daniel Craig?
Yes, Daniel Craig.
Okay.
I don't know why I blanked on that one. I had Pierce Brosnan. Somebody asked me about this earlier.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Daniel Craig is still my favorite Bond. I think Casino Royale, it captured the character, the way it's written in the books. And he did such a great job of very lightly sprinkling some humor, but most of the time it was just dead serious, cold-blooded assassin, who, of course, always gets his man.
Yeah, well...
The movies unfortunately suffered because there was a writer block in there, but I mean, if you look at Casino Royale to this movie...
And what was this one called again?
No Time to Die?
No Time to Die.
If you look at Casino Royale to this movie, all the rest of the James Bonds all made reference to previous James Bonds. They were kind of consistently all in the same, let's just say, universe. Whereas Daniel Craig restarted the entire thing. So all of he only references himself in all his movies. He never references like Moonraker or, Thunderball or, makes like jokey comments about like when the one James Bond that went after Sean Connery where he looks at the camera and he's like, the other guy didn't get treated like this. You remember that scene?
No.
It was on the beach when it was early on in the movie where there's the beach fighting thing. And all of a sudden he looks at the camera and he's like...
Who looks at the camera and says this?
Who's the guy?
Roger Moore?
No.
George Lazenby?
Yeah, Lazenby does it.
Oh.
He looks at the camera and he goes, the other guy didn't get treated like this.
Oh, okay.
Because he was, I don't know, like they were beating him up on the beach or something like that. So they were obviously making a tongue-in-cheek moment there, but it was like he broke the fourth wall, in other words.
Well, I did finally see this James Bond.
Yeah.
And I thought you were going to say your favorite 007 was Lashana Lynch, who played...
Oh, yeah, well... he never saw it for a long time, so I really tried not to tell you what was going on.
If you watch our James Bond special or episode where we talk about future James Bonds, I hadn't seen this one yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh yeah, if they want a female James Bond, this is the formula of how to do it. And I went through like this whole formula, and you're like, well, you haven't seen the new James Bond, have you? And I'm like, no. And you're like, yeah, I'll let you see that.
I mean, I don't know how much detail we want. We're not reviewing this, obviously, because we said saw it separately, but are we doing spoilers?
No, don't do a spoiler.
All right, well, I mean, all we'll say is there were 3 screenwriters for this, and it was obvious why there was 3. And Ana de Armas is in this, and unfortunately, I thought she was short, cut off too early in the movie.
Yeah.
I think she could have been a much more powerful character, and she did a great job. I mean, even my wife was like, wow, look at her in high heels, like beating the crap out of the bad guys.
So, was she with, I can't remember, was she with the CIA?
Yeah, she was with the CIA when he ran down there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I would love to go into more detail on this. Maybe we should just have a breakdown of this movie and just...
All right. So that's your number one.
That was my number one. Go ahead. Your number one.
My number one. Okay. My number one movie that I saw in 2021 was actually a movie from 2016. And it was called Lion.
Lion. I should know this movie.
So.
Is this your Dev Patel?
So this is.
You mentioned it in Green Knight.
I did.
Green Knight, a previous episode. Number 2.
Yes, we reviewed Green Knight with Dev Patel. So if you know Dev Patel, he was in Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
He was on.
Great movie.
He was in The Green Knight. He's been in a lot of other movies.
So movie.
So movie. Actually, you know what? In researching top 8 movies, I wanted to see what other people had. Green Knight is almost on everybody's top 10 list. And we don't have it on our top 8. No.
Because, I mean, comparatively speaking, you know, and I think a lot of those people were putting it on there because it was like an epic movie, and it kind of filled a particular slot in the, you know, it's like fantasy.
Go watch our Green Knight review. So, but back to Lion.
Yes, what's Lion about?
Lion is actually a movie based on a true story. Where
you like your true stories.
And you know what I love about movies that are true stories? Mm-hmm. Is that sometimes the movies at the end of the movie will then show pictures of the real people.
Oh, right,
you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
This movie did that. And so what it's about is a little boy in India. And he and his brother, they're from a very poor family. I don't think there's a father in the home. And the little brother, the older brother, who's probably only about 13, you know, is going to go to another city to work, make some money, and bring it home to the family. And the little brother, who's only like 5 or 6, said, I want to go with you. I want to go with you. And he's like, no, you're too little to go with me. I'm going to be working all day. And he's like, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with you. So finally, the big brother agrees. And in the middle of the night, they sneak out of the house. Mm-hmm. They get on a train, and they go to another city. And the 13-year-old brother says, okay, wait here. I'm going to go line up the work, and you just stay here. So the little brother is sleepy. It's like 2 a.m, and he decides to get back on this train and like just sleep on a chair. Well, what he doesn't know is that the train takes off while he's asleep.
Oh, okay.
And goes 1,000 miles across this other side of India. And when he gets there, he's in a different town. He doesn't know where he's at. They ask
Even though
him,
they call it India, it's like a completely different country.
It's like,
by each state is
like,
totally different.
It'd be like if he fell asleep in New York and woke up in LA. Okay? And I mean, it's 1,000 miles across the country.
But I think over there, though, people were so localized.
Yeah.
That each province, or what do they call the states out in India? Like, it's a totally different culture. I mean, they speak a different language.
Well, so what happened was this was also, I want to say, like in the late 80s. So, I mean, a lot of technology wasn't there.
Right.
So what happened?
He couldn't call anybody.
He couldn't call anybody. He didn't know his address. He didn't know his last name.
Oh, wow.
So, like, when the police were trying to help him out, they didn't know a last name. They didn't know his address. They had no idea what town he was from. So they put him in an orphanage. And he bumps around. And, like, first he lives on the street. And so street people are trying to get to this boy. And, like, a pedophile ring tries to get to this boy.
Yeah.
He makes it to an orphanage.
Pedophile rings.
And, like, he has no way of getting home. He doesn't know anything. So then he's adopted by an Australian couple, including Nicole Kidman. Oh. So they take him to Australia, and where he grows up and he has a great life. And he becomes educated, and now he's in college, and he's falling in love. My voice. He falls in love with a girl. But what happens, it's now like the late 90s, early 2000s, and he's like maybe about 18. And Google Maps has just come out. And he starts explaining, I remember I live in a town, and I remember there's like a water tower right by a railroad tracks. So he starts going to Google Maps every night and looking for a water tower by railroad tracks.
Oh my God.
And he spends a couple years doing this. And he finally thinks he found his hometown. So then he makes his journey back to India. And we talked about crying in movies.
Yeah.
When this movie was done, I was all wet.
Oh, your mascara ran and everything?
If I wore mascara, it would have run. Because it was very sad and happy at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, had no idea. I've seen bits and pieces of like trailers or pictures. I had no idea that was the actual premise.
Oh, it was so good. And when I finished watching that movie, I was like, that's the best movie I've seen in a while. It really is.
Well, on that note.
On that note, what?
On that note, well, we're done with our top 8.
We are done with our top 8 of 2021. And we lost a lot of good people in 2021. So at the end of our screen credits, stay on a little bit, and we're going to do a little bit of montage for you with who we lost in 2021. But Dane, we're ringing out the old, we're ringing in the new.
Season 2 is starting.
Season 2 of the Cult Lords is coming very soon.
He doesn't lose his voice first.
I know. I'll get over this, I promise. But we've got some great movies planned. The Matrix, The Protege, Mandy, just to name a few. They're all coming soon.
Yeah, that's probably the next 3 right there.
It's probably the next 3 right there. So make sure you comment at the bottom. Tell us what were your favorite movies you saw in 2021.
Yeah, please subscribe. We're on all the social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We've said this many times. We love comments, bad or good. We will answer them.
Yeah.
We're hoping that our format change is more palatable for people, much smaller episodes spread over the week.
Smaller episodes spread over the week.
Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 with a theme movie for the week.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I want to get our first troll comment. I can't wait to respond to that. Let's see if you're the guy or gal that does that. So.
All right.
All right.
So, happy
Cheers.
2022, everybody.
Happy 2022.